Just like a ton of other Gen Xers, I was super excited when Ke Huy Quan won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was a comeback story that was inspiring and heartwarming. And then, when it was announced that he'd be leading an action comedy, I got even more excited. The movie's out, so is it a solid role for Quan? Successful realtor Marvin receives a crimson envelope from his former partner Rose that thrusts him back into a world of ruthless hitmen, filled with double crosses and open houses turned into deadly war zones. With a volatile crime lord hunting him, Marvin must confront the choices that haunt him and the history he never truly buried. Quan is Marvin, and he's instantly likable. He is a realtor who is wildly good at his job, not because he can simply sell a home, but he makes people want to buy from him. And that's thanks to his sincerity and kind-hearted approach. But what just about everybody doesn't know is that he has a deadly secret. His past is full of death and brutality. Now, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off this one right away, and it really does pain me to say this, but the story for the movie is crap. We're thrown into the middle of this, but provided zero context for the events that unfold. Marvin shows up to a location and then is viciously attacked. Why? Well, we're given a stunted and vague reason, with characters just kind of being tossed into the mix as the time goes by. And there are a few arcs that feel incomplete, like there was more to the script and it got cut, or that elements are included to make this appear to be more relationship-centric than it really is. Either way, the storytelling fails miserably in the area. And it's not like the movie's overly long, so that it had to skimp on certain elements that would bolster the plot. It's only 83 minutes long, and it could certainly use an extra 10 to 20 minutes of development before just pushing us into the action. Even the baddie is underdeveloped, and this area should have the second, if not most, importance within any relationship aspect, drawing on loyalties in history that would make Marvin's choices all the more impactful, but it's rushed and insanely lackluster. There are multiple setups and scenarios that all come across as though they're half-thoughts, like what plays out was the rough draft, and then somebody forgot to add in the pages that gave more depth to everything. And when the story does decide to dole out some background information, it comes in the form of very boring and unoriginal delivery of drawn-out exposition. We have characters who narrate to us backstories or events. And while that can work sparingly, this is pretty much the way that all info is conveyed. And then it's delayed well into the movie, so it arrives at awkward times. Ariana DeBose is Rose, Marvin's love interest and former partner. And there's zero chemistry between the duo, even though I was doing my best to will them to have a connection. And it's not the fault of the acting. They're working with what they have. I think Marvin is more convincing in his attraction to Rose than the other way around, making it look like just some sad dude who's pining over somebody who doesn't care. And once again, just like with the other story elements, every interaction between this duo is thin and rushed. The story doesn't allow us to sit with the characters and watch a connection be reestablished. They have discussions that are always on the move, never taking even a minute to just stop down and connect. And I think there's more of a connection established between two side characters than with Rose and Marvin. Now, that's not how you want this story to play out. The other actors in this are also working with what they have, some more successfully than others. I think Marshawn Lynch is a naturally funny person. He was awesome in that Netflix ad-lib series Murderville, and he killed it as the laid-back teacher in Bottoms. Here, he feels a bit off, like maybe he was asked to do ad-lib and he just wasn't feeling it, or it could just be the writing that has let him down. He's not bad, but his character is meant to be snarky and deadly, and neither really comes to fruition. We also have Mustafa Shakir playing an adversary of Marvin's, and the way he crafts his character, it's just bizarrely entertaining. He's an introspective and soft-spoken poet, who's also vicious with sharp and stabby objects. And he's got these piercing gray eyes that just mesmerize when he stares into the camera. It's one of the few moments within the film that pauses to create a knowing or invasive experience. Sean Astin has a small role, and he brings his natural charm to the character. There's this genuineness that comes across, and there are a couple of touching moments that are going to hit any Goonies fan right in the heart. I know it's nostalgia bait, but I didn't care. I was fully in support of any that they wanted to include between this duo. Leo Tipton plays their character as a fed-up and bored assistant to Marvin. They nailed the distracted and disinterested portrayal perfectly, giving just the right amount of snark and sass when asked to do something, especially after an awareness kicks in. And then the rest of the cast, they're just kind of filler. I can't remember the character names, and they're thrown into random scenes, which then creates a disjointed attachment to them. Now, the huge thing the movie has going for it, aside from the likability of Quan in the lead role, it's the action, choreography, and editing. The fight scenes in this, they are savage, fast, and often painful or bloody. Quan looks to be doing a lot of the stunts, and these are crazy. I mean, we're talking bodies flying through rooms, bouncing off of counters and tables, only to then be picked up and launched through walls and doors, so that it's really a miracle that anybody survives any of these beatings. I mean, yeah, of course, you're going to have to suspend disbelief in these action scenes. We do that all the time, though, for just about any action movie, so that's not an issue in the slightest. The choreography, it's also excellently carried out, showcasing a massive variety of martial arts moves, as well as knife play, gun work, and then all-out ham-fisted punching. And to make this feel energetic and intense, the editing doesn't employ a ton of quick cuts to hide imperfections. We get to see lengthy fights with minimal cuts, but then we're also treated to various angles, so we can see different facets of a battle. Now, I loved some of the top-down shots because we could watch a character taking on several opponents simultaneously and then clearly watch the maneuvers. The one element that was noticeable as the fights were going on was a bass, or this low-toned musical emphasis that accompanied almost all of the punches and kicks, giving it this extra oomph as a blow landed. I mean, once I noticed it, it was kind of hard to ignore, but it doesn't detract from the action or the intensity. And the gore in this is actually quite shocking. While cuts and punches are expected, there are a few sudden and gory moments that caught me off guard and made me wince just a bit. The effects, they're gross and effective, solidifying the brutality while also creating a satisfying collective gasp within the theater. And I have to acknowledge that while I think the story is a massive detriment to the movie, the audience that I saw this with, they were audibly praising the whole thing. They had a ton of fun, and apparently it hit all the right notes for them. Now, I enjoyed the performances and then the crazy action, but I also have to point out the shortcomings, otherwise I'm just not doing my job as a critic. I mean, if you're looking for a movie that you don't have to think through while getting 83 minutes of action-packed chaos, this is going to satisfy. But if you're looking for a memorable or even effective story, this is going to disappoint. So overall, Love Hurts rushes the storytelling, skimps on development, and then dumps exposition through unoriginal narration, leaving the plot thin and forgettable. Ke Huy Quan is charismatic, likable, and convincing with his charm and deadly hidden talents, performing the action sets fluidly and brutally. The stunt work and choreography make for exhilarating fight sequences, allowing us to see the moves expertly delivered by the players. And while the story itself is poo and drags down the rest of the watching experience, I want this to succeed so that Quan gets many more opportunities to lead films, just next time with more solid storytelling. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and then a ton of barbaric violence. I give Love Hurts 2.5 out of 5 couches. So what are you going to be watching this weekend? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.